Join me in welcoming Jonathan Cain.
Thank you very much for that warm introduction. Since I'm standing between you and pizza, I'll be sure to be quick. It's wonderful to have this opportunity to talk to fellow lovers of liberty, and I'd like to share with you some thoughts this evening on how we're in a higher education bubble and what you and I can do about it. So I forget what happens at the end of Emperor's New Clothes, but presumably you grab some pants, maybe sent for a tailor once the collective delusion was pointed out. Colleges these days, however, are taking a very different approach to their Emperor's New Clothes problem, all naked, all the time. And I'm not referring to whatever you may be getting on up to this evening, but rather the failure of the education establishment to stop ignoring its broken business model. You can almost forgive your guidance counselors, university administrators, test prep companies, politicians, student loan officers, and other education profiteers for ignoring the broken business model. After all, the education industry is one of the most heavily subsidized, least competitive industries in existence. As of 2010, at least, federal taxpayers were giving 8 million students about $28 billion worth of Pell Grants. Another $13 billion went to government-guaranteed low-interest rate loans. The gross amount of loans, by the way, is well north of $100 billion a year. Universities receive $43 billion in subsidies, not counting tax subsidies, tax breaks, and research subsidies. In recent years, actually, Sally Mae, the quasi-federal student loan lending agency, paid its executives hundreds of millions of dollars for providing over this mess. And the focus of my talk is on higher education, total direct government spending on all levels of education, from K-12 to college and grad school, totals more than $800 billion a year. So thanks in no small part to these enormous government subsidies, over the past 30 years, both public and private universities have quadrupled their prices on top of inflation. Factoring in inflation, it's almost like 1,200%. That's far outpacing even healthcare costs. Are today's college graduates made 4 times smarter than their parents were? Obviously not. The average student debt of graduating seniors gets worse by 6% a year. Student loan debt in the U.S. is now more than $1 trillion in aggregate, and that's more than the entire credit card debt in this country. So so-called high debt borrowers graduate from private universities with more than $53,000 in debt, and some, if you go on to law school, maybe at multiple degrees, you're looking at $200,000. So although the education bubble resembles the housing bubble of recent years in many ways, student loans can be much worse than mortgages because you can't live with one. Interest piles on by nearly 7% a year, frequently even when you're unemployed. And while you can walk away from an unaffordable mortgage, in 2005, the Bush administration made it illegal to walk away from a student loan even if you declare bankruptcy. There's simply no exit. So with higher prices, deeper debt, and stagnant prospects, we have to ask, what are colleges good for? We know what they're not good for. A recent study found that after 2 years in college, 45% of students showed no significant gains in learning, and after 4 years, 36% showed little change. The 6-year graduation rate for college hovers around 50%, and even once you do make it out, 17 million college graduates are unable to find work relevant to their degrees, and another 2.4 million are unable to find any work even irrelevant to their degree. A year after college, about a third of students are doing so well that they have to move back in with their parents. Now, there's certainly nothing wrong with being a bartender or a cashier, but there is something wrong with a society that tricks 18-year-olds into ruining their lives with student debt through false promises of a positive return on their investment. If college is an insurance policy, then it was presumably issued by a company like AIG. So sure, for some people in some careers, college is maybe worth the price that you have to pay for it. But if you decide that you picked a bad field or a wrong field or really just no field at all, or just that your college degree is worth less than your promise, there's no school that's going to offer you your money back. Now, individuals have the right to and absolutely should manage their careers and their lives, and that means thinking about what you want to do, like asking what knowledge and skills you're going to need to actually achieve that. carefully evaluate the costs and benefits of various options, including the option to put your career on hold for 4 years to go to college or maybe even graduate school. And speaking of graduate school, film school, cooking school, journalism school, law school, these can all be fun if you have money and time to burn. And some people who choose them actually do have successful careers. But many people spend thousands of dollars and years of life on such schools and don't get jobs afterwards that justify the expense. A bachelor's degree can be the same kind of dubious purchase, especially when the buyer of the degree doesn't even have a plan to make use of it. Now, some people have tremendous potential to make the world better, but they don't perform well in contexts that reward obedience, including high schools, colleges, corporations, and bureaucracies. But I am happy to tell you that the world is ready to change, and you may have noticed that it's already starting to change. So you don't have to conform to these collectivist solutions anymore. You don't have to play by these empty rules. You don't have to take a bait. You can say no. You can change the world with or without a degree, in fact. Now, parents, professors, and pundits might disagree, arguing that the lifetime earning potential of a college graduate suggests that it's worth bearing almost any burden to get that credential. They say that education is priceless. And it's certainly true. Talented, motivated, creative individuals tend to earn more than their peers throughout life. In today's world, they're also more likely to complete college. Colleges, for obvious reasons, claim that they make all the difference. There's a similar difference in earnings between Brooklynites who work in Manhattan and Brooklynites who work in Brooklyn. But if you think that crossing the Brooklyn Bridge tends to make people more productive, you might think about lying. At best, campuses add more country club-style amenities and scheme ways to poach academic superstars from rivals. But nobody except maybe administrators is under the illusion that the quality of college explains its skyrocketing cost. If college were really a more valuable way to spend time than just working, diplomas would be an afterthought. Going to college for 2 years would earn exactly half what going 4 years would. Smart investors might double or even triple their investment by going to school for 8 years or even 12 years instead of working. Now, if we want to cure cancer, if we want to find cheap and clean energy, if we want to create jobs, if we want to do anything that's new or different and exciting, we're not going to learn how to do it by repeating what hasn't been working. The absurd price tag of today's universities, it's a hardship, but it's also a gift because it tells us that we need to be doing something else. And I'm certainly not arguing against education, against learning specifically. It's tremendously important. We should all strive to better ourselves. You should read Shakespeare and Aristotle. We need more people learning math and making scientific discoveries and pushing the boundaries of knowledge. Useful and satisfying education can come from reading great books or from hearing great lectures and demonstrations or from engaging in interesting debates. Unfortunately, technology is rapidly making all of these forms of learning much more affordable and accessible. And you don't need college or student loans for any of them. Just look at the Khan Academy, iTunes University, Udacity, edX, Coursera, and many more every month. We're seeing lots of people actually adopt these tools. They're not just the corresponding courses of your work. In 2002, about less than 10% of college students were also enrolled in at least one online course, but today that number is more than a third. And because education is so very important, you shouldn't confine it to just a 4-year period in your life. It should be something that you're always engaging with. And these new channels of learning are enabling people who aren't 18 to 20-something and want to find ways to better themselves to do so without having to purchase the equivalent of a new car or second mortgage. So 5 years ago, the establishment was saying everyone should buy a house. Don't worry about the price. You'll learn it all back later. What could go wrong? We know how that ended. Today, the establishment is still saying everyone should go to college. Don't worry about the price. You'll learn it all back later. What could go wrong? Before long, spending 4 years in lecture hall with a hangover may be revealed as an antiquated debt-fueled luxury. Fortunately, this is a problem that can be addressed on many different levels, all of which everyone in this room may be able to help with, either today or in the future. On the political level, the government should stop forcing taxpayers to subsidize the education industry. It should phase out government student aid and institutional aid. It should stop funding grant programs and research. It should stop regulating licensure for careers such as law, finance, and medicine. On the entrepreneurial level, while we're seeing many new channels for learning, as I mentioned earlier, there I think are still wonderful opportunities for smart entrepreneurs to disrupt the market in the other areas that higher education still has an edge in, such as status, credentialing, and socializing. On a personal level, we should stop treating a college degree as a mark of significance and the lack of degree as some sign of personal failure. Only half of Americans who start college drop out. And of the entire population, only about 15% of Americans actually have a bachelor's degree. So the belief that a college degree is necessary for success in life just ends up creating these class divisions. In his 6-sentence essay that won him admittance to Harvard, JFK said that to be a Harvard man is an enviable distinction. That's clearly absurd, though. We should treat real things like knowledge or skills as enviable distinctions and not meaningless things like pieces of paper. That's like saying that I took out a loan to buy a Lamborghini, and boy, that's a real mark of distinction. Now, on the employer level, look for job applicants who actually have the abilities that you need them to perform, not just what degrees they might have. On the individual level, we should think more rigorously and honestly about what we want in life, and once we've done that, think about how to achieve those things and whether or not college is something that would help or hinder you. And if you don't know what you want to do, it's certainly fine to take time to think about what you want in life, and you certainly should. But there may be more effective ways to spend $100,000. Like taking a gap year, backpacking the world, working for a few years. And if all you want to do is party, I suspect with a slight more diligent application of creativity, you can find more effective and fun ways to party for so much money as well. At the Thiel Foundation, where I'm fortunate to work, we're trying to do our part in a small way to give young people interested in taking charge of their education and their lives more options. Through our 2022 Thiel Fellowship, we offer no strings attached grants to people 19 and younger who are passionate about science and technology and changing the world to get started on their ideas as soon as they're ready, instead of waiting on a degree. Instead of paying to attend college, we paid them $100,000 over 2 years to move to California and get started working on the cutting edge of research and entrepreneurship. It's hard to take the kinds of risks that are involved in entrepreneurship if you're saddled with tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt. And so what we're hoping to do is give just a small number of rising entrepreneurs, tech visionaries, and innovators a new path with mentorship, support, and just the time to take really big ideas, take really big risks, and think really big ideas. And we're currently accepting applications for a third class of fellows, and you can learn more and apply through the end of the year at 2020.org. So our fellowship is just one way that young people interested in radical scientific research, high-tech projects, starting your own companies, and fresh thinking can take charge of their own learning. And our broader hope with our fellowship is to inspire people of all ages to think really hard about what you want in life, not just follow the standard tracks that maybe your parents or society said you should do. Think about what kind of future you want to create, what kind of world you want to live in, and how you might work toward actually building that. College may help you, college may not help you. Don't just do things because people did them before you. Former University of California Chancellor Clark Terra once said that the purpose of the university is to provide sex for the students, sports for the alumni, and parking for the faculty. It's amusing because it's true, but the purpose of an education obviously should be learning. Now, how you learn is up to you. You don't have to be one of our fellows to take charge of your own education. And when and if you do, you'll learn more than any school could ever teach you. So I'm happy to take questions, but given that the food is getting here and hot, maybe I should stay around if anyone wants to chat and everyone else can eat. Thank you very much.